Today, I'm going to repeat myself, which means I think it's really important. Please listen. Welcome to the Intentional Success Podcast, where we unpack the top strategies, explore business trends, and drill down into best practices to help your live events production business grow and scale on purpose. I'm your host, Tom Stimson. Well, folks, it's been about a year since I drew a line in the sand and committed myself to only promoting and supporting scalable business solutions. You need to be reliably profitable without windfall projects every year. You need to make money every single year without going, thank goodness we got that one big job. That's what scalability is all about. Scalability is our goal. Now, we've got some tools to get there, and I'm going to talk about them. But scalability is our goal. And the business models that we've been using for decades were inherently unscalable, and they've introduced some pretty horrible common practices and beliefs about AVL companies that support events. Now, in our defense, when these models were created, we didn't need to be scalable. Profits were enormous. I mean, this industry was just cranking out the money. But markets get a hold of that, and markets don't like people to make too much money, and they start making corrections, right? Buyers correct, sellers correct. And if we keep correcting and we don't fix the fundamental flaws, the profits dwindle down to nothing, which is exactly what had happened to us by 2019. So here's a quick reminder of what scalability is. We are scalable when profit as a percentage of total revenue increases when total revenue increases. This has nothing to do with job costs, right? One job won't make you scalable. Scalability means that your overhead costs are covered and profit is generated long before you run out of capacity, and this is important, before you run out of demand. So there is more work to be had, and every time you do more work, the profits increase exponentially because your overhead is already covered. This is what business is all about. Other companies do it. Other industries do it. Why can't we? Now, is it limitless? No. You are going to eventually run out of capacity, right? And you're going to run out of the capacity to manage additional work before profit stops increasing. Could you do the more work? Yeah, maybe you could. Will it be as good? Maybe not. Will it be as profitable? Yeah. At some point in time, you're going to turn off the spigot, right? Now, conversely, a non-scalable business will rely on a handful of weeks or months or one job to generate all the profit for the year. Imagine all the profit for the year coming from one job, which means everything else was just a placeholder, right? What does this mean? If you are consistently unprofitable or net profit is consistently low, then to me, that means less than 8% per year. Then one, you have too much overhead. And two, you do not have enough of the right revenue. It's probably not one or the other. I almost guarantee that it's both. And sadly, it means you are struggling with the only two metrics that really matter in business: overhead expenses and revenue. Overhead is fixed costs. Revenue is the whole reason we're in business. If we're not managing those two things together, we got a problem. Let's fix it. Now, of course, we want to manage costs of goods sold, right? But that's inherent in the definition of the right revenue. So if I have the right revenue, that means it is priced in a way to be profitable because I know what my costs are going to be. Anyone can manage job costs. It is not hard to manage job costs. Most of you, heck, all of you are good at managing job costs, okay? That's not the same thing as managing a business. Managing a business means managing the overhead and getting more of the right revenue. And that's where you need to be putting your energy. You'll get the jobs done. The jobs will make money. You need enough jobs to make money, and you need your overhead low enough that you will make money as a company sooner. So if scalability is the goal, then balance is the tool that we use to get there. So balance means that 100%, in the extreme, 100% of your full-time team supports all of the processes and roles to acquire revenue, plan the work, manage the business of your business, and support the execution team, which is by definition a cost of goods sold. And the execution team is inherently profitable if they are captured under cost of goods sold and revenue. It also means that you do not neglect any of the fundamentals of managing the business, such as keeping your overhead down and getting more revenue. So balanced companies don't skip strategy. They don't forget about employee retention. They put energy into marketing and customer acquisition year round, not just when they have free time. They don't have to wait for downtime to get projects done, particularly important projects such as keeping overhead down and getting more revenue, the right revenue. Balanced companies are scary efficient. They do have downtime. They've got a lot of downtime. They can work on great ideas and strategy. They can take time off, right? Why shouldn't you be able to do that? Okay. Why should we let inefficiency suck the life out of us as well as our pocketbooks? So a year ago, I made a commitment to stop supporting the things that we've traditionally taught, and I am guilty of having taught over the years, right? Buying more equipment to make job costs look better. I don't support that. I will challenge that assumption. Hiring full-time techs to make scheduling easier. Come on, folks, that's just lazy. Get better at recruiting freelancers, right? Project manager silos. The whole reason we have project managers is because we haven't figured out how to run our business. So we have to give individuals the power to carry an order through our system because our system can't do it. The idea of sales to operations handoffs, which, by the way, on the record, I've hated for a really long time, but now they make no sense whatsoever because selling and operational processes are tied together. Okay. Taking care of the customer and the project doesn't stop. We don't get to hand anything off. Show techs in the warehouse. There is no rational argument left for your show techs coming in and prepping their own show. I've heard them all. They're wrong. There's better ways to do it. There are more cost-effective ways to do it. And there's ways to do good work consistently without taking your valuable execution assets and putting them into a warehouse role. Salespersons in show positions are just kind of hanging out on a show site like they add something. If you're not there to shake hands, kiss babies, and get out of there, salespersons have no role in the delivery other than to make sure that the customer's happy watching it get done, right? Now, we do some other things. Job cost subsidies of using staff to fill roles. The owner going out on show site and, I'm listed as an overhead. There's not a cost of goods sold for me. Well, what does that do to your numbers? It makes your numbers look like, artificially more profitable on the job cost side. And remember, job cost is not how we make money. So the owner not charging himself or herself to jobs isn't helping the company make money. In fact, it's hurting it. And then there's things about, showing the clients your math, trying to make an apples to apples comparison to yourself and other companies in the industry. That's not the right revenue. And the thing that drives me nuts the most is windfall math. Oh, well, we had a really good year last year, but we're not getting that one big show back. So this year's going to be a little rough. Hello? What? What? You didn't have a good year last year. A job bailed you out. Fix your math, right? Now, I've replaced these things, right? I'm just not here telling you all the things you can't do anymore. I have replacements. I have solutions. I have better things to say now. I'm just as passionate about them. Look, windfalls are fine, right? But windfalls cannot dictate your overhead. We don't win a giant job that's a quarter of our year and run out and hire people and buy new gear to do it. It's a one-time deal. Well, they might do it again next year. Talk to me next year, right? It's a one-time. Next year, it's still going to be a windfall job. It's not your core business. Obviously, if you needed those techs and equipment year-round, you'd already have them, right? So windfalls are okay. Just treat them like a windfall. Staffing shows as a profit center. It's not a pass-through. How many of you are still going, well, we can't make money on labor. The market won't bear it. What? Right. You don't have to show your customer your math, but you need to understand what the cost of staffing a show is, and it should be a profit center. If it is not a profit center, you're taking your highest risk investment, the thing that will critically determine whether or not this event is a success, and you're placing no value on it. You can't just make money off of gear. You're never going to have enough gear. Never mind. Low overhead is great, but not at the expense of selling, planning, or admin of your business. So some people take the low overhead to an extreme. Well, we've been doing fine. We sell $2 million a year with one salesperson. Awesome. tell me why that's good, right? Why aren't you selling $4 million a year? Well, we have to find another salesperson who can do $2 million a year. No, you don't. You need to find a salesperson who can handle $500,000 a year, right? Selling, planning, and administration of your business are the core competencies that you, the owner, and your management team need to manage. This is where your overhead lives, and this is how you get the good revenue, right? And we keep the lights on, we keep the toilets working, the internet up, the IT desk has support, right? I tell people, stop saying markup. Please, please, please stop using the word. Understand what margin is, use margin, use better math across the board. Markup is a loser's game. The house never wins when they use markup. The buyer always wins on markup. Stop it. If you don't understand what I'm saying, Google it, please. This is probably the most of business lesson. This will put 5 points to your bottom line if you can eliminate the mindset of markup and use margin. Now, here's another thing. Sometimes you need to make money. We're not all blessed with, more demand than we can handle, right? Sometimes you need the next job that comes in. Awesome. Don't worry about what the job should have been worth. Don't worry about, our value in the marketplace. You need money. You need profit. You need to pay your overhead, right? So you have to know how to win jobs when you need to win them. And it's only worth what you could sell it for. It's never worth anything else. It was never worth more, right? Oh, we're leaving money on the table. How would you know? Do you want to risk getting no money to find out if you were leaving money on the table? What difference does it make? Look at the job. How much gross profit will it generate? You're great at job costs. You know how to figure this out. You know what your costs are. This is easy math. Don't let job costs get in the way of estimating a project. Okay. Well, we're used to making 50% gross profit on jobs. No, that's a little lie we tell ourselves, because when we look at our P&L for the year, our average gross profit is 50%. That doesn't mean every job made 50%. Your biggest jobs made 30. Come on. You can take 30%. You can take 25%. I put it this way. Client wants to hand you $50,000. You get to keep $10,000. You're in a cash crunch. What do? You take the money. Just do it. Just do it. Take the gross profit. Accumulated gross profit covers your overhead and turns into profit. One job is not going to ruin your reputation. So, all gross profit is good when there is no risk, but as risk increases, you should expect more gross profit. So if that $50,000 job with $10,000 of gross profit is extraordinarily risky, as a matter of fact, if one of the risks is that you don't get paid, $10,000 wasn't enough. Matter of fact, if you're worried about getting paid, there's no risk that's worth it, right? Just don't do it. Some other things I'm telling people that's making a difference. Put a designer, estimator dedicated to the sales team. If you've got more than 6 people in your company, you need one person, and they may also be on the planning team, but the people in sales need to have instantaneous access to somebody who can help them get the right quote out. They don't need to build the quote for them. They need to say, hey, this is great, just add this, right? We need to fix that constraint, okay? Otherwise, we have to hire salespeople who know enough about technology and estimating and technical design to be effective. And who wants those people, right? We need people who are customer facing, not people who are operations facing. So those people make operations happy because it makes their job easier. They don't make customers' lives happy because they're talking about all the widgets and gadgets of doing this job and not how the job is going to help them. So put some sort of design estimation resource that is always accessible to the sales team and not somebody who's on show site who will get back to you when they get to the computer backstage. Another thing I'm saying very consistently, centralize all operational services such as staffing, gear reservations, sub rentals, drawing, show prep, logistics, warehouse operations. Project managers who traditionally touch all of these things should be responsible for maybe building the show flow for a specific job and review all the stuff that was done in terms of who's the staff, who are the talent that we book. Is the travel done, right? Where are the sub rentals coming from? Okay. Do I approve the drawings that were done for me? Okay. Can I review the scrubbed order before it goes to the shop? Right. What are the logistics plans? That's what project managers should be doing. They should be looking at the stuff that was done for them. And if you're a small company, again, if you have fewer than 6 employees, your project manager is your planning team. Now you've got the problem that is that person goes out and actually does the show. You have nobody planning the next show. Think about what is your highest priority. Your highest priority is always the next show. The show you're on is going to get taken care of. So we need to think differently about the role of project managers in our companies. Another thing I say is no more than 10% of your entire team can live in both the execution sphere, in other words, they go out and do shows, and the office. 10% of your entire team. 5% is better. 0% is doable. And it's happening all the time. These are 2 different cultures. They are 2 different processes, 2 different outcomes, 2 different internal customers. They're not always the same people. They don't need to be the same people. So the amount of overlap between execution and selling, planning, and administration, the amount of overlap that you can decrease, the better off you're going to be. Now, you can have full-time techs and you can have show personnel, right? Balance doesn't say you can't have full-time techs and show personnel on staff, right? Just make sure that 100% of their capacity is used on shows. They are part of execution. They are a profit center. Okay? They are a cost of goods sold. They better be attached to revenue. And don't pat yourself on the back for, they come in when we're slow and help us on projects. Do not pat yourself on the back of that. I will hunt you down. I will hurt you. That is a false economy. Okay? Organization charts. I've looked at thousands of them. The traditional org chart, the one that you can get a template from inside of Word and start building it and plugging in names and figuring out who's in charge of who and why we can't do that because that person doesn't want to have a boss, so everybody's horizontal. Everybody ends up with a horizontal org chart. Why? Because they don't work, right? They don't work in small businesses. They're external facing documents that most of you don't actually need, except when you're doing reviews because it tells us who needs to do whose review. Now, role charts actually do matter to everyone every day. If you have selling, planning, admin, and execution, that is your org chart. Where is this individual's highest and best use? That's the sphere that they live in. The person in charge of the selling process manages the people in selling. The person in charge of the planning process manages the people in planning, right? It's pretty simple. Most of the time, who manages who doesn't matter because we are all working in the processes. We're all trying to get to the same goals. So where do I apply balance to become more scalable, right? So if scalability is the goal and balance is the tool, where do I aim balance to make a difference? And this is the right question. And this is really why I wanted to do this particular podcast. By using balance, you ensure that there is energy going into the 3 primary spheres, which is selling, planning, and admin. Execution, remarkably, will always take care of itself because planning is going to do a great job of setting them up for success. That's planning's only job, is setting execution up for success. And you've always been good at execution, but part of your success in execution has been reacting quickly and admirably and heroically to the mistakes from lack of planning. If you eliminate the mistakes that come from lack of planning, execution is going to go even better. And trust me, your clients will know. They know when you're, covering up the tracks on a mistake. They know when you're doing that. They know it's okay because it's going to happen. No show is perfect. But if they see that most of your energy and the people who are out there doing the show are the same people who were in the office last week, they know that you can only do one show at a time for them. Hard to have enough of the right revenue when your buyers think you can only do one show at a time. Now, if planning is doing their great job, again, we're looking at balance. We need energy going into all the spheres. If planning is doing a great job, shows are going to go fine. In selling, the sales funnel has to grow. If we're putting energy into selling all the time, it's not just closing deals. It's about getting future deals, prospects, marketing, branding, outreach, right? We need people out there evangelizing for us. All of these things matter. I wrote a whole book on it called Demand, right? The supply chain is also going to improve because your planning is doing good. So while our sales funnel is growing with great buying prospects, our supply chain is growing because planning is making sure that we have a great depth of resources. So now your costs are going down, right? And your value is increasing, so your prices can go up, right? All your people are getting paid. They're happy to work for you. The internet works. Cake day always happens. The toilets flush. All of these things are important to you in the long run. And we can't take them for granted. We have to make them happen. But you have to reach a point in your journey where cake day just happens because it's supposed to happen, not because you had to make it a process. Everything in your business is just supposed to happen. And if you've got to if you have to make a process to institutionalize it, then do that. But if you're relying on the process, then you probably don't have the right people. Because the thing about a balanced organization is it requires half the people to service the same amount of revenue, but those people need to be twice as good. So throwing people into process holes in order to get better outcomes does not solve the problem. It just increases your overhead. Take that money, hire better people, right? You'd be amazed at how well things work when you get the right folks in the right places, right? So balance is a tool for making life easier. The benefit is scalability. Scalability means profit, more profitability more often, and less dependent on empty revenue. You will get to the point, if selling is working, you'll be able to turn down work that is just not worth your time and effort. The margins aren't high enough. The risk is too high. It's not good for your brand. Maybe the customer's not a good fit. Imagine not doing a job because the customer's not a good fit. How lovely would that be? Look, add resources to planning to reduce the need for project managers. This will make your life much better. Salespeople being involved in these processes or project managers being involved in process to get the show done is problematic. Okay. Centralized purchasing of all your show-related expenses. At least make it so the project managers are needed later in the process. Reduce dependency on there, which means you're going to centralize services. You're going to keep some butts in seats. Anchor positions is what I've always called them. We need anchor positions who don't have to go out on shows to justify their existence. Add resources to selling to reduce the constraints to estimating, to customer support, to outreach, to marketing. Fix your static marketing, add some digital marketing, start talking to people. Stop subsidizing admin tasks across key personnel. In other words, I don't need a key manager who's also my IT help desk, right? Or they're in charge of building maintenance. Well, they're out on show. They'll get back and they'll take a look at that. Come on. That's just general admin. Fix it. Outsource it. Outsource as much admin as you can. Now, creating a silo between selling, planning, administration, and execution teams is also important. We're all on the same team, right? But, the coaching team on the side and the trainers don't get out on the field and help the players get the ball in the net, right? Execution teams need to be set up for success. We may have a player coach, right? We can take the whole metaphor too far if we want to, but people need to stay in their respective lanes, work at your highest and best use. Right? And if we do all of this, then we can start to remove owners from tactical roles, especially in execution, or move them completely into execution where they're happy. It's their business. If that's what they want to do, let them do it. Right? Owners get to be where they need to be. Everything else gets taken care of. We're always working on the things that we need to work on, which is what balance is all about. So balance is the tool that will allow us to be scalable, which means that we will make money, and we will make more money the more revenue we get. It's a wonderful scenario. It is not just a pipe dream. This is not just theory. This actually works. So if you want to learn how it's going to work for your business, then let's sit down and have a conversation about that. But the facts are here. The math is here. Take a good hard look at yourself, and let's figure out what you need to do next. Thanks for listening.
If you want to find out more about today's episode, go to trstimson.com/podcast, where you'll find the show notes, related links, and tons of other valuable resources. If you haven't already subscribed to the Intentional Success Podcast, please do so, and I'd greatly appreciate if you would rate and review the show. Also, if you think you might be a good fit to work together or want more information about the Stimson Group, I'd love to hear from you. Visit trstimson.com for more information.